Mhm. Hello. Mhm. Good morning. We're going to give people another minute to sign on. I know there may be people who are still registering, so we're going to wait just a little longer and give people a chance to get on. Lishana Tova Tikatevu, Lishana Tova Tikatevu, Tikatevu, Lishana Tova, Lishana Tova Tikatevu, Lishana Tova Tikatevu. Shana Tova, everyone. Well, welcome. We are a little more together today because we're in Zoom. So that's really exciting. Later on, after the Torah service, we'll be able to have a conversation together where we all see one another and get to talk about the Torah portion. If you are reading today, if you've got a reading part, please just dive in when it's your part. If I need to give a page cue because we're skipping some pages in the prayer book, I'll do that. Otherwise, when it's your turn, just please read. Remember that in our prayer book, there's one prayer for every 2 pages. We're either reading from the right side or the left side. So once a prayer is done, turn the page, and if you're the next reader, please begin. We're going to begin our worship on page 120.
Blessed are you, Holy One, who has formed the human body with wisdom, an intricate network of channels, vessels, and openings. This wondrous structure and the flow of life within us allows us to serve you and give thanks. Let us cherish this gift of flesh and blood, honor it as God's creation. Baruch atah Adonai, rofeh kol basar umafli la'aso. We praise you, Holy One, for wondrous acts of creation and healing.
Pure, my God, is the soul you gave me. You formed it, you shaped it, you breathed it into me. You keep it safe within me. Someday, when this soul returns to you, I will find a place in eternity. But as long as spirit breathes within me, I place before you my thanks. Eternal my God and God of my ancestors, creator of all creation, sovereign of all souls. Baruch atah Adonai, asher beyado nefesh kol chai, baruch kol basar ish. We give you praise, Adonai. All life is in your hand, and in your care the soul of every human being.
I invite you to rise for Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Vaed. You may be seated.
Source of blessings, our eternal God, Your power fills the cosmos, shaping light, creating darkness, making peace, and fashioning all things. Infinite light is preserved in life's treasure house. Lights from the darkness, said God. It was so. In love, you bring light to the earth and its creatures. Your goodness renews the creation of each day. Infinite, varied, and rich are your works, divine artist, all of them wrought with wisdom. The whole earth is teeming with life. Awestruck by the universe, work of your hands, let all life bless you, praise you, and celebrate the beauty of your lights. May you shine a new light on Zion, and may we soon be privileged to share in that light. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer HaMa'orot. Our praise to you, Adonai, creator of the cosmic light.
Please turn to page 150. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha ve'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam B'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'aderech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha u'ktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uv'isharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Amen. Page 161.
The beginning of your word is truth. If you exist at all, I know you can't abide hypocrisy. And most of all, you don't want prayers that lie. You'd rather get an honest fight than strings of empty platitudes. So I can't pretend or hide in pious phrases given to me by the past. It's hard to speak my own imperfect truth. In fact, the more I say, the less I seem to know. And the farther away I get from you, whatever you might be. I've heard that what you really want is not more words. You want the heart. That may be more than I can give, but I can try.
Page 164. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, nora tehilot osef eleh, shira chadasha, shibechu ge'ulim l'shimcha, al svatayam yachad kulam hodu, והמליכו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. צור ישראל קומה בעזרת ישראל ובטחנו מך Yehuda v'Yisrael, Go aleinu, Adonai Tzivaot Shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka. El Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava. Zochreinu Lechayim, Melech Hafetz B'Chayim, Melech Hafetz B'Chayim, V'chotvenu b'Sefer, B'Sefer HaChayim, Lemancha Elohim Chayim, Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham v'Ezrat Sarah.
You are the source of blessing, Adonai, our God and God of our fathers and mothers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, God of Sarah, God of Rebekah, God of Rachel, and God of Leah. Exalted God, dynamic in power, inspiring awe, God sublime, creator of all, yet you offer us kindness. Recall the loving deeds of our fathers and mothers, and bring redemption to their children's children, acting in love for the sake of your name. Remember us for life, sovereign God who treasures life. Inscribe us in the book of life, for your sake, God of life. Sovereign of salvation, pillar of protection, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Abraham v'Ezrat Sarah. Blessed are you in our lives, Adonai, shield of Abraham, sustainer of Sarah.
Page 170. Your life-giving power is forever, Adonai, with us in life and in death. You liberate and save, cause dew to descend, and with mercy abundant, lovingly nurture all life. From life to death, you are the force that flows without end. Got us in the wrong place. You support the falling, healing the sick, free the imprisoned and confined. You are faithful, even to those who rest in the dust. Power beyond power, from whom salvation springs, sovereign over life and death. Who is like you? Merciful God, who compares with you? With tender compassion, you remember all creatures for life. Faithful and true, worthy of our trust. You sustain our immortal yearnings. In you, we place our undying hopes. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei Hamatim, wellspring of blessing, power eternal. You are the one who gives and renews all life.
You may be seated. We continue on page 175.
Let us embrace the day in its holiness, for this day is a throne of goodness and power.
When the people of Israel do God's will, they strengthen God's power on high. But when the people of Israel fail to do God's will, they weaken, if one may say it, God's great power on high.
So let this day recall your power and ours. Let it remind us of our promises kept and broken as we remind you of yours. Let this day be a throne of forgiveness, For today, we are the accountants of our souls, the navigators of our hearts, seeking wholeness and new direction. And we seek you through signs of your presence in the arc of sacred history.
I make this covenant not with you alone, but with those who are standing here with you on this day, and with those who are not.
God of ages past and future, God of this day, as you were with our mothers and fathers, be with us as well.
We continue on page 179.
On Rosh Hashanah, we plunge like swimmers into the sea of words. On Yom Kippur, the sea rises, then crests, and we emerge, sealed by the wax, warmed by the fire of braided candle. The new year is like a trailhead, opening wide before us. The day of fasting, narrow, breathless, so quick to close. We contemplate a new year, and this we know. Some of us will live, and some of us will die. Some will die young, and some very old. Some by water, and some by fire. Some by sword, and some by beast. Some by hunger, and some by thirst. Some by plague, and some by earthquake. Some by stoning, and some by strangling. Some of us will feel at ease. Some will be restless. Some will have peace of mind. Some will have strife. Some will be tranquil. Some will be tormented. Some will be raised high. Some will be brought low. Some will have riches. Some will be impoverished. Even so, the way we act, the way we speak, the way we meet God's image in ourselves and in others, these things have great power to make our lives matter. Therefore, let us make whole the broken shards, green and thick the withering grass. Let the wind fill us with urgency for life. Let dreams give birth to justice and goodness. God of holiness, God of hope, let us glimpse your truth as we attach our hope to yours.
Page 184. נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוא כל הארץ, כבודו. אדיר, אדירנו, אדוני, אדוננו, מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישביענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי יחזיון לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה. Page 187.
Holy is the dignity that is human, sacred the mystery we call divine.
The pains they take for us.
Sublime the glory of the heavens above us, sacred the beauty that glows within us.
Noble is the mind in search of meaning. The heart is happy that finds its way.
Awesome is the power that rules our being, holy the kinship that makes us one.
On page 189.
By its mere existence, Judaism is a never silent protest against the assumption of the multitude that force is superior to truth. Just because it was always a minority, Judaism has become a standard of measurement of the law of morality. How the Jewish community has been treated by the nations amongst which it has lived is always a measure of the extent to which right and justice have prevailed. For the measure of justice is always its application to the few. It requires religious courage to belong to a minority such as Judaism always has been and always will be. For many days will come and go before the messianic time arrives.
Page 203.
Awake, you sleepers, from your sleep. Rouse yourselves from your slumber. Awake like Israel at the sea to the joyful song of Miriam and Moses.
Sing to the eternal, for God has surged in triumph. The eternal shall reign forever and ever.
Awake like Israel at Sinai to the dignity of being God's partners.
You shall be for me a holy nation, a sovereign community of priests.
Examine your deeds and return to God. Remember your Creator, you who are caught up in the daily routine, losing sight of eternal truth. You who waste your years in vain pursuits that neither profit nor save. Hear the rousing call to repentance.
With trumpets and the blast of shofar, raise a shout before the eternal, the sovereign.
Hear and know the truth of a higher power.
God is sovereign, robed in majesty. God is clothed with strength, so the world stands firm and cannot be shaken.
I think it's a wonderful lead-in to the shofar calls to say the world cannot be shaken. It's firm. No matter how hard we blast, nothing is going to shake the foundations of our world. Well, we are blessed that Sharon Cohen has been our master blaster, the Ba'alat Tikiyah, the one who knows how to blow shofar for so many of our services and arranges the shofar calls with our other participants. Really thankful to Sharon for doing all of that for us and to adding such dignity to our service. I invite you to rise for the shofar blessings, which you can find on page 206. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lishmoa kol shofar. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehecheyanu v'kiyemanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Okay, Sharon, hope you're ready. Here they come. Tekiah, Shvarim Trua, Tekiah, Tekiah, Shvarim, Tekiah, Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah. You may be seated. There's this really strange echo here in the sanctuary. I don't know how to explain it. Here in the sanctuary, Sharon's out in the courtyard. We hear her blowing, and then we hear the sound kind of bouncing back to us. I wonder if it's bouncing off the building itself. It's eerie. Page 208.
God, who is ours, and God of our fathers and mothers, lead us to holiness through your mitzvot, and may each of us find a portion of Torah that is ours. You bestow such goodness, teach us to be satisfied, and to know the joy of your salvation. Help us to serve you truly with purity of heart, for you are a faithful God, whose trust stands forever. Baruch atah Adonai, Melech al kol haaretz, Mekadesh Yisrael v'yom hazikaron. Our praise to you, Eternal One, whose power pervades all the earth. You bring holiness to the people Israel and to this day of remembrance.
Let's take some time for silent prayer. You could find words for silent meditation on pages 218 and 219. Oh, say shalom, shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Uyaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen. Oseh shalom, shalom bimromav. Uyaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, amen. Page 223. Please rise. Please join me in reading. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and merciful, hear our voice. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu Lifanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol Aleinu Va'al Ol Aleinu V'tapenu. Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and our families. Avinu Malkeinu, Kale Dever V'chera V'ra'av Me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger. Avinu Malkeinu, Kale Kol Tsar Umastin Me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror. Avinu Malkeinu, Kotvenu B'Sefer Chayim Tovim. Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names in the book of lives well lived. Avinu Malkeinu, Kadesh Aleinu Shana Tova. Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us a year of goodness. Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu Vanenu, Ki Ein Banu Ma'asim, Asei Manu Tzedakah V'Chesed V'Hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu V'hanenu, Ki Ein Banu Ma'asim. Asei Imanu, Tzedakah V'Chesed. Asei Imanu, Tzedakah V'Chesed, V'Hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Chonenu V'hanenu, Ki Ein Banu Ma'asim. Just give me one moment. Move that. Turn that off. We're going to continue now with the service for the reading of the Torah on page 228. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh V'Norah Shemo, Gadlu Adonai iti, Uneromema Shemo Yachtav. Lecha Adonai Hagedula, V'Hagevura, V'Hatiferet, V'Hanetzach, V'Hahod. Ki chol b'shamayim uvaretz, Ki chol b'shamayim uvaretz. Lecha Adonai hamamlacha, והמתנשא לכל ראש. Sure, I have my pages here. There we go.
We are celebrating the birthday of the world as described in Torah. Few of us are hearing these words for the first time, although only days.
I'd like to invite Rena Leibovich to offer our, let's see here. You probably want to see me. Let's see if this will work. There we go. I'd like to invite Rena Leibovich to offer our Devar Torah this morning.
We are here celebrating the birthday of the world as described in Torah. Few of us are hearing these words for the first time. Although only days 1 through 3 may be chanted, I will talk about the 7 days of creation. Starting with the unformed void, good things such as light and dark, evening and morning were created. We can't measure how long that took because time period day did not yet exist. Then came heaven, which is also too nebulous to be measured. After the creation of oceans and dry land, plants grew from seed by the 3rd day. By the 4th day, there was a sun, moon, and stars to provide moisture and energy for these plants. Then came fish and birds to multiply, and it was evening and morning of the 5th day. Finally, we get all the other animals, including male and female humans. These were vast, complicated, and tiring labors. God needed to rest and contemplate the final outcome on the 7th day. Maybe civilization invented the breakdown of day into 24 parts and hours into minutes, etc. But the creation of the week, consisting of 7 days, comes from our Bible, and as far as I know, has been accepted worldwide.
Yishar kochech. Thank you, Rena. You'll see that our Torah is going to be read from 3 different locations this morning in order to keep us socially distant. And our first, and of course the Aliyot read from 3 other locations. Our first Aliyah will be recited by Max Norman, and the first Torah reading done by Lisa Kama. Yamod Mordechai ben Moshe.
Baruch hu et Adonai Hamvorah.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Breshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz ve'haaretz hayta tohu ve'vohu ve'choshech al panei tehom ve'ruach Elohim merachefet al panei hamayim vayomer Elohim yihi or vayhi or Vayar Elohim et haor ki tov ve'avdel Elohim ben haor uben hachoshech vayikra Elohim le'or yom ve'lechoshech kara layla vayehi erev vayehi boker yom echad.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. I neglected to tell you where you could find the Torah reading in the prayer book. You could find it on page 330. Our second Aliyah will be recited by Jason Weinstein, and the second Torah reading will be read by Robin Wood. Yamod Gedalia ben Beryl v'Nachama.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hamvarach. Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch Atah Adonai notein haTorah. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tolchenu. Baruch Atah Adonai notein haTorah.
Our third Aliyah will be recited by Skylar Cohen, and the third Torah reading will be read by Peter Cohen. Tamod Shimria Rina Bat Avraham V'Sarah.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach. Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen. Vayomer Elohim yikavu hamayim mitachas hashamayim el makom echad v'sera'eh hayabasha vayichein. Vayikra Elohim vayabasha eretz u'mikveh hamayim kara yamim vayar Elohim ki tov. Vayomer Elohim tatzeh haaretz Teshe Esev Matri Azera It's Pri O Sefri Lemino Asher Zaravo Al Haaretz Vayichein Vatotze Haaretz Deshe Esev Matri Azera Leminehu Ve'eto Sefri Asher Zaravo Leminehu Vayar Elohim Ki Tov Vayer Vayiboker Yom Shlishi. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Toratem emet v'chayei olam natan v'tolchenu. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen.
Thank you to all of our Torah readers. We're going to return the Torah to the Ark. Please turn to page 246. I invite you to rise. V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei b'nei Yisrael al pi Adonai b'yad Moshe. Page 277. Eitz Chaim hi lamachazikim ba v'tomcheha meushar deracheha darchei Noam v'chol netivoteha Shalom, Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva Chadesh Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem. You may be seated. I hope that all kinds of technical things didn't get too much in the way of our Torah reading, echoes and sound and all. Thanks to everybody for participating. It's certainly, we were talking before the service began, that we are stretching the limits of what this particular platform is designed to accommodate. And a lot of people have put a lot of work into trying to make it all come together, and I'm so grateful to them all. Well, I'm going to relocate so that we can have a discussion about the Torah reading. I'm going to move over to a table out in the foyer, and I invite you to turn back to page 330. I'll be there in a moment, and we'll talk about some questions I would like to raise about this morning's Torah reading. Okay, give me just 1 minute. Oh, hi there. Let's see if I can see everybody in gallery view. And there you are. Oh, well, okay. I want to invite you to comment on, wrong paper. Okay, be back in a moment. Okay, that's better. So when you want to say something, unmute yourself so that you can just chime in. Though since there are a lot of us, you might want to stay muted until you're ready to say something. That will help keep background noise down. Well, all right, so I have a few questions to ask about this portion. And the first question is simply a seek and find question. So if you open up to page 330, where we have the Torah reading, and you look through the 7 days of creation, I want to ask which acts of creation, not which days, which acts of creation are described as good, okay? Which acts are described as good? We're going to go in order. First one you could find. Somebody tell me.
Light.
Good. First one is light. What is the second one that is described as good?
Bringing forth the grass and plants?
Exactly. Actually,
No, sorry, yeah, the dry land earth.
Exactly. So all together, right? Earth and sea and plants. So now we've got first is light. Earth, sea, and plants is the second thing described as good. But notice that there's something missing there, right? What's the next thing described as good?
The lights.
Which lights?
Wait a minute. The hang on. The rule, the
placed in the heaven, the large light, the small light, and the
Right.
stars.
Yes, there you go. So interpret into our language, sun, moon, and stars, right? Sun, moon, and stars. All right, what's next? What's the next thing that's described as good?
All the living
Not quite.
things. All
You're going to
living
have to be
things.
more
Animals and
specific.
birds. Oh, I'm sorry, in the waters.
Yeah. So we're gonna go in order here. So what's the next thing in order is the animals where?
Water and air.
Right, fish and birds, exactly. Water and air. And then the last thing that's described as good is what? We're down to phyla now, okay?
Wild animals? Really not. No.
So what category of animals would we call this?
Vertebrates.
It's actually not vertebrates.
Land animals?
Yeah, so I think that it's very specifically mammals. I do not believe it's anything other than mammals. If you want to read it differently, you're welcome to do so.
We have a biologist here who's freaking out.
Yeah. So now that raises a question then. Why aren't the others described as good? And what are the things that have not been described as good? So let's identify them first and then why not? So what are the things that have not been described as good?
Man.
Humans are not, and there's something else.
Heaven?
That's right. Neither is heaven. So I'm just going to toss the question out to you. Why are those two things not described as good?
They have to work at it.
You want to fill that in, Miranda, a little more. Tell me more what you're thinking.
People and creatures in heaven would be things that have consciousness and the ability to work at being good, as opposed to things that are animals, plants, etc. Those just kind of are.
But I want to go back and question the heaven, because it's not just the heaven, it's the heavens and the waters. It's the both and as well.
Why?
So you want to say that again? Who is that? Trish? Who's speaking? Yeah, Trish, you want to say that again?
Well, it's not that heaven is not described as good. It's that the separation between the water and the heaven is not good. It's the things that are blue, as it were, blue and where birds and fishies go.
That's it. Okay, so that's interesting. You're saying it's about the place. The place isn't good.
I don't know. I'm just saying it's two things, not one thing.
Okay, that's an interesting way of reading it. Somebody else want to offer an interpretation? Why are these two things not described as good? Let me suggest the about humanity first. Go ahead.
Howard just said because what? Go ahead.
Well, the Bible has the story of the heavens and the earth. The people, there's no story if they're all good.
There's no story.
There's no lessons to give, no lessons to learn.
Yeah.
And I'd add to that, in reality, not everybody is good.
Mm-hmm. We're not. Yeah, go ahead.
People have a choice. They make a conscious choice.
That's what I was going to say, free will.
Free will. There you go.
This is a great read on it. By the way, I don't know that the Torah means it this way. I honestly don't know why the Torah doesn't say about these two things that they're good. All we can do is interpret. We're stuck with reading into the text. our understanding. But I actually subscribe to that point of view, which is a very medieval philosophy point of view. Humans are endowed with free will. If we were predestined to be good, then there is no such thing as moral choice. By the way, we're not predestined to be bad either, though, right? We're not sinful, but we're not automatically good either, which places a tremendous responsibility on humanity. It does begin the story. I think that that's one way of reading it, but it leaves open the question about the heavens. So I heard Trish's explanation. It's not just heavens, it's water. Let me offer an alternative view, that it really is about the heavens. Firmament means a separation. God places this space up there to separate the waters above from the waters below. It's the space that's called heaven, Shemayim. And yeah, there's water up there, but it's not about the water so much as about the space. You might think it's better up there, but the Torah is saying, no, it's not better up there. You know, the notion that we're going to heaven does not appear in the Torah. It's not a biblical concept. We don't go to heaven. You know, other things live up there, but don't imagine that somehow you'd be better off there than you are here. This is it. This is the best place you could possibly be. And the rest is up to us. All right, so let me go on to another question. If we go to the very end, at the very end of the seventh day, or at the end of the sixth day, in verse 31, God saw all that God had made, and behold, it was very good. Humanity is not described as good, but all that God had made is very good. Why the discrepancy? We're not even accorded the status of being called good compared to the other things God has made. The totality of creation is referred to as very good. Why?
Because it's the system as a whole.
Okay. Do you want to describe further?
That what God created was a complete system that was in which all things can exist.
I see.
And that is the thing that is good, and pieces of it are good, like the cogs, but things like people or creatures in heaven are not, I mean, things that have the idea of free will, those things are part of the system and have a responsibility to fulfill their part within the system.
That it's interesting. So actually, you're backing up to something you had said earlier, Miranda, which is that the first part about the heavens not being described as good is because the creatures up there are just like creatures down here and have free will. I'd actually argue that they don't. I'd argue humans have free will, angels don't. Angels are God's gophers. They can't make moral choices. They exist only to run errands for God. And that's an essential difference between angels and humanity. Nonetheless, it doesn't change your conclusion about the very good part, which is the whole package is good.
If angels are God's tools, effectively, does that imply that God is actually the one that's not necessarily good?
I don't think so. Although if anybody wants to argue the point, you're welcome to, because I think that God is understood as above angels.
Okay, yeah.
God's the absolute good.
But God is the thing that has the free will in this situation, right?
That's right, yeah.
But
So,
things that have free will are maybe not necessarily inherently good.
yeah, yeah.
Also, it doesn't say God created God. Talking about the things God created. We don't.
It does say that, right, the things that God created and passing judgment over what God has created.
What about Satan?
Somehow we lost the rabbi's audio.
We can't hear you.
God had done.
Oh, we missed all of that.
What's that?
We missed all of that. I said, what about Satan? And we missed the rest.
Yeah. No, I want to call attention to the idea that God does something on Shabbat. God blessed the seventh day. God ceased from all the work of creating. It doesn't say God blessed the work of creation. God blessed the seventh day. It does not say God blessed the work of creation. Why?
Well, an omnipotent, all-knowing, omniscient God would know that, there will be times where he will have to destroy part of his creation. So he can't destroy what he has blessed, perhaps, and says, I made this holistic thing that is all very good and it's all interdependent, and let's see how it works. And I'm not going to bless it because I may need to destroy part of it. But the day that I'm resting, that's blessed.
Sandy?
I would also perhaps like to think that he left it up to us to bless the works of creation. By that I mean to take care of them.
Okay, Robin?
Oops, sorry.
That this is the day when we rest and appreciate what's created, and so I think he's blessing our rest.
Robin, if there's any way you can move closer to your microphone, it'll help us all to hear better, because you're a little far away and it's hard to hear.
I'm far away.
That's better.
Okay. Yeah, I'm saying that he's blessing rest. He's blessing Shabbat, that this is his creation. This is God's creation for us. Is our ability to rest, appreciate, recreate.
So you raised an interesting idea. See, Iris, did you have your hand up before? I saw somebody else had their hand up. Yes, Iris, unmute yourself there. Oh, Iris, unmute yourself. We can't hear you. Just want you to know, Iris, we can't hear you because you're muted.
The host might be able to unmute her.
Maybe. Give it a try. No such luck, huh? Okay. Here, other comments? Yeah, Trish?
I'm wondering about what do we mean by bless to start with? So blessing is to make something holy? Is it to? Yeah. And assuming that, which I'm not sure is right, then what it's doing is it's taking Shabbat out of creation in some sense and setting it aside, making it, I think as someone else said, a sanctuary from the system.
That's a very interesting idea. I also think there's an element here of God blesses time, not things. There are holy times. Nothing is essentially blessed in and of its essence. Might be good, but God blesses times, the events of our lives that are holy. Doesn't make us blessed. That was a blessed event that happened. Oh, Iris, I see you're unmuted. Do you want to share? Go ahead.
I was going to say that maybe God didn't feel like he had finished yet. He was tired, so he decided to rest at the end of 7 days. But that doesn't mean that he had finished everything
This is fascinating on two accounts. First,
he intended to do.
yeah, fascinating. The first is your observation. Maybe God didn't feel like God was finished. It does say the heavens and the earth were completed. God completed the work that had been done, but maybe in your interpretation, that doesn't mean that was all the work that was going to be done. The other idea you offer is God got tired, which is an interesting idea. Because an all-powerful God presumably wouldn't ever tire. At any rate, these pieces of the story, when you read carefully, you find little tensions in the story. We tend to take it as, the story of creation, 6 days, 7th day God rested as a whole. But as we start to pull apart the language, we see slight tensions in the story, things that are slightly out of balance, that cause us to ask questions, that make the story, as organized as it is, perhaps slightly less clear, slightly more provocative than it is on the initial read. I'm going to stop here, and I would ask that if you're not muted, you go back to muting yourself. Jason Weinstein, I think, is going to do announcements for us. Jason?
I'm right here. I'm going to give Jay a second to. So shalom, I'm Jason Weinstein, Vice President of Youth Education and Programs here at Congregation Beth Emek. I want to thank the many people involved in this morning's service, including all the service participants, our behind-the-scenes tech squad of Jay Vitello, Skylar Cohen, and Lisa Kama, and Sharon Deborah Cohen for our chauffeur blasting. A special thank you to the Rabbi Milder, for leading us in worship and bringing us together this morning. Our High Holy Days food drive continues through Yom Kippur. Please consider a monetary donation to benefit the Tri-Valley Nonprofit Fund, representing Open Heart Kitchen, City Serve, and 4 other local charities. Send your contribution to the Beth Emek office and indicate that it is for the food drive. There's still time to order your lulav and etrog for Sukkot. Orders are due by this coming Wednesday, September 23rd. This fall, we're offering 2 adult education courses, Getting Comfortable with Hebrew Prayer and the Origins of Anti-Semitism. The Hebrew class taught by Janet Milder will take place on Sunday evenings. The Origins of Anti-Semitism class will take place on Thursday evenings. Registration information and details for both classes can be found on our website. Our new teen education program, which I'm proud of, CBEAT, will kick off with its fall course in Jewish art on Sunday, October 4th. All teens in grades 8 through 12 are invited for this 6-week class, taking place on Sunday evenings and taught by a CBE member and local artist, Rhonda Chase. Additional CBEAT courses will be taught throughout the year, and you can check the website out for that. And finally, mark your calendars for Saturday, October 3rd. in the evening for CBE's first ever virtual hard cider tasting. Here at CBE, we have a tradition of hosting an adult-only evening event during Sukkot, and this year will be no different. Details and registration information will be in this week's Once Around Beth Emek electronic newsletter. Shana Tova.
Thank you, Jason. Let's continue now with the second of the series of shofar calls on page 267. God of remembrance, remember the covenant of our ancestors. We reaffirm it today. Remember, we are a people of noble ideals. Help us attain them. Remember all your people, all the nations on the road to peace. Bless their efforts. Remember with mercy the binding of Isaac, the sorrow of Sarah, Abraham's words, "Here I am." Our memory fades, but you remember all that we have forgotten. Your presence is a throne where all things matter and nothing is lost. Baruch atah Adonai, Zocher Habrit. Blessed are you, Adonai. You remember the covenant. You remember us. I invite you to rise. Tekiah, Shvarim Truah. Tekiah, Tekiah, Shvarim, Tekiah, Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah. We're going to go right into the third set of shofar calls, page 284. Baruch atah Adonai, shomea kol truat amo Yisrael barachamim. Blessed are you in our lives, Adonai. You hear with love the shofar, true voice of your people Israel. Tekiah, Shvarim Truah. Tekiah, Tekiah, Shvarim, Tekiah, Tekiah, Teruah, Tekiah Gedolah. Let's remain standing and turn to page 286 for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoye ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishbachot ha'adama, shelo sam chalkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech, Malchei Hamlachim Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Page 289.
The lies and bigotry shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. And the word of the prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever.
ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. Page 290.
If I can let you go, as trees let go their leaves so casually, one by one, if I can come to know what they do know, that fall is the release, the consummation, then fear of time and the uncertain fruit would not distemper the great lucid skies. This strangest autumn, mellow and acute, if I can take the dark with open eyes and call it seasonal, not harsh or strange, for love itself may need a time of sleep, and tree-like stand unmoved before the change, lose what I lose to keep what I can keep. The strong root still alive under the snow, love will endure if I can let you go.
Mourner's Cottage may be found on page 292. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, ba'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru, amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei kudusha b'richu, le'ela u'le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechmata, da'amiran ba'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru, amen. You may be seated. Thank you for joining us for this unusual Rosh Hashanah service. Look forward to being together again on Yom Kippur, a week from this Sunday night. And also on Shabbat Shuvah, this coming Friday night at 8 p.m. We're going to close out our service with Yigdal on page 296. There we go. Yigdal Elohim Chai v'yishtabach nimtza v'yein eid el metziuto echad v'ein yachid k'yichudo ne'lam v'gam ein sof le'achduto ein lo dmut haguf ve'eino guf lo narok elav kedushato kadmon lechol davar asher nivra rishon ve'en reshit lereshito hino adon olam lechol notzar yoreg dulato malchuto shefa nevuato nitano Elan shesegulato v'tifarto Lo kam b'Yisrael kemo she'od Navi u'mahabi et munato Torat emet natan le'amoel Al yad nevio ne'man beito Lo יחליף האל ולא ימיר דתו לעולמים לזולתו. סופב יודע סתרנו, מביט לסוף דבר בקדמתו. גומר לאיש חסד כמפעלות, נותן רשע כרישתו. ישלח לקץ ימין משיחנו, לפדות מחכה קץ ישועתו. חיי עולם נטע בתוכנו, ברוך עדי עד שם תהילתו. חיי עולם נטע בתוכנו, ברוך עדי עד שם תהילתו. Lishana tova tikatevu v'techatemu. May you be written and sealed for a good year. Bye-bye.